Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. As some of you know who have heard me talk on this podcast or even been in my workshops, that I believe dating is a skill. Like, you aren't born either good or bad at dating. It's actually a skill. And just like any other skill, you can improve over time with a little practice and repetition. So today, actually, we're diving into a topic like dating that is often misunderstood, yet central to having meaningful, connected relationships that's beyond just the dating, and that is intimacy. Now, when most people hear the word intimacy, they think of chemistry. I mean, that's obviously part of it, and those sparks that fly when you meet someone. But when you really think about it, what if I told you that intimacy isn't just about the chemistry? It's also actually a skill. It's so interesting. These ladies who I'm going to bring on today, they're going to talk more about that. But I love that because it's exactly how I feel with dating. And like any other skill, it can be learned, it can be practiced and deepened over time. So really, intimacy is not just something that happens. It's actually something that you create, and you can learn how to do it at any age, any time, anywhere, any place. So, all right, let's just talk about intimacy to begin with. Like, what is it anyway? I mean, really, like how it's defined, it's a deep sense of closeness, it's a connection, it's a vulnerability that we share with another person. And it comes in many different forms. I mean, it's not just the sexual or the physical, there's emotional, where you feel that safe in expressing your thoughts and feelings. There's intellectual intimacy, where you connect through stimulating conversations and shared ideas. There's experiential intimacy. It's built through doing things together. There's spiritual intimacy. It's rooted in shares and values and beliefs. And of course, there's the physical and sexual intimacy. And in dating, intimacy is often misunderstood as just that, hot moment that you meet someone. But the real intimacy is what sustains connection beyond that initial spark. So without it, honestly, relationships can feel shallow. They can feel disconnected. And that leads to often patterns of those short-term flings and emotional avoidance. It could be one or the other. And that's what causes those disconnections in relationships. And when you develop all forms of the intimacy, you create space for the authentic, reciprocal kind, the ones that last. And, as a therapist, I will just touch upon, I know we're going to get into this today, that the lack of intimacy usually stems from childhood, right? It's like an unmet emotional need or neglect or inconsistent caregiving. It usually happens during the formative years. And so if you grew up in an environment where emotional closeness and affection and validation was absent or seemed dangerous or unpredictable, then you can internalize the belief that it's unsafe to trust, to open up, or even rely on others. I see this all the time with my clients. And what's interesting about it is often it leaks in ways that you're not even aware of. It's subconscious. It could be in your body language. There was a woman once that I was working with, and she had a history of sexual abuse, and her environment was not safe at all. And she had done all this work on herself, and she did all this therapy. And she came to me, and she's like, "No, I'm healed. Like, I'm beyond that. I'm ready to meet someone. I'm open. I don't understand why I don't get approached. I just can't get any traction." And this is where like show me, don't tell me comes in, because we could talk about all of this, but until I see it in action is when it really surfaces. And so we were at a bar, and I saw that every time she would talk to a man, she would back up, and then she would back up more. And to the point where there was this like love shield around her, protecting her. And I made her aware of it. She had no clue that she was doing it. And so really we had to work on just her being comfortable in space with men and practicing over and over and over again until, after a while, she's like, I don't even remember doing that because I love touching men so much, you know? So it, again, it's a skill. So joining me today are two powerhouses, and they are the voices of the world of relationships and sexually who are true pioneers. And they challenge the traditional ideas around love, connection, and desire. So I'm excited for this conversation. Together, we're going to talk about how to practice intimacy in everyday life, the impact of trauma on desire, and how to reclaim your sexual energy with confidence and empowerment. So, Danielle Harel, I think I'm saying it right, are pioneers in intimacy, sexuality, and relationship coaching, along with Celeste Hirschman. They're co founders of the Somatic Institute, and they've transformed how love and connection are taught through their experiential science-based somatica method. Oh, I said somatic, it's somatica method. Together they're trained over, oh my gosh, 1,000 coaches and helped countless individuals and couples embrace vulnerability, rediscover desire, and create deeply fulfilling relationships. And they're the authors of three influential books: Making Love Real. That's an awesome title, by the way. Coming Together and Confidence. Danielle and Celeste blend authenticity, humor, and bold honesty to inspire transformation. Welcome, Danielle and Celeste. It's so good to see you and be here with you.
Thank you, Kimmy. It's great to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I was really excited about this conversation. I mean, we've talked about sex before on this podcast in the sense of like, sexual attraction, but intimacy, it's a really interesting word. And like I was saying in the beginning, it encompasses so much. So I don't know. I don't know if you each want to kind of popcorn your own stories around this and like how you both got into doing what you're doing.
Um, yeah, I mean, I've always been interested in sex, especially, and then, nerding out around relationships. And so I always kind of knew I was going to help people in this area because sexuality was something very comfortable for me. I got my master's in human sexuality studies, and then I met Danielle in a more experiential training. And we just vibed in terms of knowing how we wanted to help people learn intimacy from inside of intimacy. So we practice intimacy with our clients in service of their learning and gaining the tools of intimacy that they need.
I love it. How about you, Danielle?
Yeah, so for me, sexuality was this like amazing thing, that helped me empower myself and feel amazing about who I am and about my body and about like kind of everything I was doing in life, like good, nice lubrication of my life. And again, I got my PhD in human sexuality and I met Celeste, and that's what we created the Somatica method, when we were like really seeing that what people needed is a lot of deconstruction of what intimacy and relationship and sex is, and also a lot of like ability to practice the tools and skills of intimacy to, because we don't get opportunities to practice those things. What we see is a lot of messages and a lot of modeling that's not so great. So we broke down the tool of intimacy, put it together, and then we're teaching people to do it every day.
I love that you use the word lubrication. I'm just saying. I don't know if that was intentional, but it was very
Oh yeah.
effective. Yeah. See, it's those little things, right? That causes that kind of like make things that make you go, hmm. Well, I'm interested too, just in, kind of what you're seeing out there in like issues that people are having overall when it comes to intimacy, and what are almost kind of the roadblocks that people have.
Well, I think like if we think about intimacy and dating and then into long-term relationships, it's a little bit of a trajectory. So at the beginning, I think a lot of people don't know how to flirt. They don't even know what flirting is. So we can break that down into like learnable behaviors. And the first one is actually to get in touch with your erotic energy. And a lot of people don't even know how to do that. Like they come on a date and they're like all in their head and just like blah, 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 and it's like there's no embodied connection and no like erotic flow. So flirting is actually like feeling your connection to your own eroticism and then letting it connect with the other person. And the way that I think of it is like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, we can have a lot of fun together. But I'm not saying it. I'm saying, how many siblings do you have? You like talk about a lot of those
Right.
things, but you don't want to let the flow go away. You want to bring the eye contact, you want to bring the smile, you want to feel the aliveness and eroticism in your body, and then talk about whatever. It doesn't matter because you're flirting then if you're feeling that aliveness.
I love it so much. I didn't even know that you, and I don't know if you know. I mean, I do flirt workshops. That's why like you guys are like sisters. I love it. Well, and it's so true. And I think what happens as well, and I wonder how you work around this, because this is like when I'm working with people, they might intellectually know what that might look like or what that should be like, but actually embodying it, while like we can do it very playfully right here on Zoom with each other because we've had practice, right? They they don't for whatever reason. Like with my client I was talking about, for her there was trauma. And a lot of times trauma surfaces, where it causes fear around flirting. So it's something that I'm passionate about too. I just wondered for you all how you help people kind of work around those fears.
Yeah, so I think like the biggest thing that we're bringing into those practices is actually having a different experience with another person. That means like if I'm sitting with a client and I'm seeing like where is it that they're being blocked? Okay, we're talking about the concept. Concept sounds totally cool and awesome. Let's try it. Okay, and then we're trying the concept, and I was like, okay, so let's see where you feel like you can get like really connected with your pussy and feeling this arousal and turn on, and then talk to me about something else and let's see how it comes up, right? Like, and then you kind of see where the blocks are. So first you give people the roadmap of how to learn to flirt. Okay, step, like literally break it down. Step one, connect with your erotic energy. People might have blocks in like even knowing how to do that, so you need to teach them how to do it. Talking to them about it might not work, so then we do practices of like bringing sensations in and squeezing your pelvic floor and letting it come all the way down. Then we see if they can hold this energy while they are connecting with someone else and talking about a topic that's not about sex, So you're kind of like expanding the skill set in order to, and the capacity in order to be able to get to where you want. And then if challenges show up, for example, trauma, then we talk about the fears and we help process the fears of what's scary about showing your erotic energy, where like, and we kind of work out through the trauma and whatever it is that was blocking the experience.
I can think it's totally fun. Like if I'm working with a client and it depends on if it's a man or a woman because there's sort of different blocks that usually come up. But like I'll work with a shy guy, and I'll be
Yeah.
like, well, why don't you just I'm going to teach you how to check me out in a connected way. So it's not objectifying. It's like appreciating and then reconnecting with my eyes. So I say, okay, now you want to like look at my whole body and then come back and look at my eyes and just like feel like, oh, it feels so good to like see all of you, right? And to like have that connection happen. Sometimes with women, if somebody's checking them out, they start to think, oh, this person just wants me for sex and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So for them to learn how to be checked out and realize like the way that a partner is appreciating you, like part of it is going to be that they want
Mm-hmm.
to have sex with you. That doesn't mean it's the only thing that they want to do with you? And so you really want to check, like, are they checking you out, but are they also curious and asking you questions and like engaging with all the different parts of you? Because we want people to want to have sex with us, but then we need to be able to receive that energy without getting scared of it. And I do think that's where trauma comes up. And you
Yes.
really have to work with like, okay, so what is the fear and what happened in the past that made it scary for you? And to find a way for them to feel safe receiving someone's erotic energy and to know how can they take care of themselves? How can they set boundaries? How can they end if something's not working for them? All of that needs to be put in place so that women can be empowered in their dating lives.
Oh my God. It's so weird. Like you're literally saying things that I love this because it validates exactly what I also believe in and in the way to help people. And, it's funny because I do hear that a lot too, where people are like, well, I don't want, a man to like me for just, being a sexual object. And it's like, well, I mean, if you want a LinkedIn exchange, you can have like friends and business partners all day long, but aren't we here to have a sexual partner? And then they always say, well, yes. But then there's that pushback of the fear. And also, I find that it doesn't always have to be trauma. It could just be the shame around the messaging of it growing up. So it's not like this big trauma. I want to be really clear that it can show up in many different ways. I mean, if like for instance, I hear a lot, well, oh my gosh, we were told, good girls don't go out like that, or, whatever. And it could be something so just minuscule, but yet it's programming. And so there's this shame around all of this. Um, yeah, I would love for you and you talk about the psychology of arousal. I mean, as we're like talking about this, I'd love for you to share more about that.
Yeah, so when we talk about the psychology of the arousal, we're talking about the motivation to go and have sex, right? So we just
Yeah.
like, okay, so what makes me want to go and have sex? Like, what is it that really makes it worth my time to take my clothes off? That's pretty much the bottom line. And what we found as we were like really kind of working with lots of clients is that what motivates us is the feelings that we want to feel. We all have some stuff that our arousal was built around, like, um, kind of like, the themes of our lives. I'm going to say it, the themes that we work on and we want to explore. And arousal is a part of it. It's just another way to work through those themes. So if I was not feeling desired, or I've got a lot of criticism around my body, for example, right? So my first layer of arousal would be about, I want to feel desired. Okay, like that would be like the feeling that I want to work with. And it's complex, that's like one thing, but it can have layers and, flavors. But if I know that what turns me on is feeling desired, or feeling like my partner can't wait to like have their hands on me, I would like need to teach someone how to give it to me, because they have no idea how to do it, right? So I need to break it down to them and say, like, for me to feel desired, I need to feel like you want to check me out, that you want to look at me, and every time that you go and look at my body, you just like come back to my eyes and you say like, whoa, you are so hot, you know and like literally give him the menu to be able to make love to me, and it starts with a feeling, and kind of like create the whole menu and vocabulary to help me like keep getting that feeling in the bedroom.
I love it. Yeah. Celeste, was there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think she said it really
I like,
well.
I mean, I know, I was like, I'm not gonna touch that one. That was, she said it all. Well, but so here's the interesting thing. I mean, we're talking about all this, yet there's then this like fear and shame that rises. And I find that women put men in a double bind. They say they want it, and then when guys then show it, I don't want it. What are you doing? So it's like, how do you work around that for people when you're teaching intimacy in the physical sense?
Right. Well, in the social messages, the fear is like I'm being used, and
Hmm.
that really makes it like women aren't going for sex because it's for them. Like you can't be used if you're getting more out of it than they are.
Right. Exactly.
So how do we go into sex and just be like I have a strict 3-to-1 ratio. Like if somebody doesn't give me 3 orgasms to my one, they're not invited back into my bed. Like I
Okay, ladies, that's a new one to put on your list. Everyone has a list of like negotiables and non-negotiables. I really like that one. Okay, go on.
Thank you. So it's like I give my 3-to-1 and you know, what if they like disappear the next day? That doesn't mean that I had an amazing time, like I had fun, I got everything that I wanted out of it. If we think like every time we have sex with somebody, they have to want to have sex with us again, like maybe they're just not the kind of person who likes to have sex with the same person twice. It might not be about me, but we personalize it so much. And it's like, we can do things to be more sure about that. Like I don't usually have sex till the second date because I want to be like, okay, can they make it through too? You know what I mean? But not because I don't want to or like there's something wrong with having sex on the first date. I've done it plenty of times. Just like that helps me feel a little bit more comfortable. But also like sometimes like I have sex, I get my three and I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like I don't even know if I want to have sex with that person again. So there's something about putting ourselves at the center
Yeah.
of our sex lives that is just totally incomprehensible to women in our gender training. Our gender training says sex
Mhm.
is not for us. We're doing it for someone else. We're doing it for love. We're doing it to keep a relationship. Not like I'm doing it because I love sex and it feels good in my body. That's the mindset that really needs to change because then you're unusable.
Absolutely. And it goes along with so many people that I work with who are over caregivers, right? To the extent where it shows up in the bedroom as well. And just like how they are so focused on the man, or I work with a lot of men too who are so focused on the women that they lose themselves and what they want. And I call that like reactive dating versus proactive. It's like, don't worry about what other people think or feel. Go after what you want. And I love that you're highlighting that. And I think you're right, especially if you're over like 45. We all grew up in a totally different era where the messaging was like, you don't do that. Like good girls don't do that. So I love that you're giving women, especially, permission for that. That is so awesome. Um, I don't, Danielle, I feel like you want to say something.
I often say something, but I can wait for the next question.
No, say it.
I always have some stuff. Yeah, I feel a couple things around that. Like first, I
Yeah.
do think younger people also have this message. I think it's did not pass from the world. Like I see, like younger people and they still struggle with this message.
Yes.
And they like this like and they many times struggle also with this idea that sex is something like self as a way of self-expression and a way to kind of really move in the world and find like an outlet like of connection through sex. I think there's a lot of shaming around sex generally in the younger generation. Um, and they need to be like very precise around what is it that they want in order to go and get it. So it becomes a little disembodied as opposed to like going from a place of like, what do I feel like? What feels good to me? I don't need to like be like fully structured and know from A to Z everything what I need, but like just like for one experience, what would that be like? Like breaking down the process into like smaller chunks
Ah,
can
yeah.
be very helpful to start to grow this capacity for pleasure and the capacity of showing up for dating or for relationship or for intimacy or for everywhere you go and make the most out of that experience.
You know what I really love that you're saying about this? Because I mean, I have two older sons, and I see just like they're in their 20s, like how that generation is dating, and they don't have pacing. They don't have a sense of courtship. And like what you're saying, just having experiences that kind of grow into a more like deeper intimacy. It's either they hang out, they hook up, or they're boyfriend and girlfriend. Like literally, that's how it is. And so I think each generation has its own nuances and challenges. But segueing into the other part of intimacy, I'd love to just dive into that. That it's like, okay, so we're talking about the physical and the sexual, and that's all fun and games. But then there's a school of people who can do that no problem, right? Like that's easy for them. They enjoy it. But then it comes to the emotional intimacy. It comes to the depth, the intellectual, where they actually sometimes even use the physical as a shield, right? Because the other stuff is scarier than the physical. So can you speak with that a little bit? I don't know if you deal with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I might be more like a man in that way, is that, I mean, I love emotional intimacy, but being vulnerable is harder for me than being sexual.
Mm.
And I feel like you know, the risk that you take when you share your feelings, like how you feel about someone, is a more intense risk, at least for me, than sharing my body or pleasure. And I really balance that risk. Like I think like, okay, if I'm going to put myself out there emotionally and say something about how I feel about someone, am I doing it to try to get reciprocation? Am I doing it because it feels good in me to say it just because I care about or I love or I want more like of that person? So when I feel like solid in myself, that it doesn't matter how they respond, that I'm not trying to get something out of someone else, and I feel safe enough to just say, this is how I feel about you, or this is what I'm feeling right now, or even if I'm like upset about something, like this is what's hurting my feelings. All of those things are very tender and vulnerable, and we need to be ready to handle whatever the response is. And I think that helping people understand that and decide how they want to share themselves vulnerably creates some safety that says, okay, I'm ready to say this thing, like without trying to like pull something from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Danielle, do you have anything to add about
I
that?
just love what Celeste said because I think it's really important that they're really assessing what are you trying to get out of it. I'm just going to reiterate that because like I don't think it's fair to say to someone, the only way to go is just be vulnerable with everyone, or the only way to go is just have sex all the time. It's just like, I just want to make sure that the process is actually to see what is it that will help me feel good and solid in this experience, as opposed to there's a right way of being and that it needs to be a right way for me in this moment where I am in my process of growth with that particular experience that I'm going through. And I think it's like a huge important to kind of not to throw vulnerability is great for everyone all the time. It's like, am I gonna feel okay if they're not gonna respond to that text? Maybe I shouldn't send it. Just like evaluate before and check the range of possibilities and see how you're gonna feel with that.
I love that. I'm really glad you're saying that because it's true. Like Celeste, you brought up something really important. It's like for you, the physical and sexual is like, that's easy, that's fun. But then for the emotional, it feels way harder and it flip-flops with different people. And I think it is really important to do almost like an audit for yourself. Like even with the different intimacies that I read in the beginning of this episode, just like rate yourself from 1 to 10, where things are hard for you. And then going back to that whole notion of practice, that's where you should practice. Like those lower scores, that's where you go and you just have all these like almost mini transactions so that you practice it where then because that's your own journey. Like Danielle, you're so right. Like because if we just throw in a formula that's a cookie cutter approach for everyone, that's never a good idea and it's not going to help you on your journey.
No, one size does not fit all, and it's trial and error. Like we have to try things and like make mistakes and see what really fits for each one of us.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also you both talk about just the kind of connection between intimacy, sexual intimacy and overall health. I would love for you to touch on that too.
Yeah, I just feel that realizing that sex is something that's like nourishes us as opposed of it being like something that we give away, especially if we're like gender trained as women. And that's something that's like can be fulfilling and wholesome and like make us skin glow, make us feel great about ourselves, make us feel balanced hormonally. That's the lubrication I'm talking about. It's like sex is
Yeah.
for me because I feel good when I have my orgasms. I don't always want to have them in partnership, by the way. Sometimes I want to have my own orgasm quietly by myself or not so quietly, but with myself because that's an intimate moment. But starting to count sex as something that can be like a nice massage, like a nourishing experience as opposed to this like segmented, only in the bedroom, only with a partner, only with the right partner. Sometimes I just want to go to sex because I want to have my orgasms. That
Yeah.
counts.
Yes, definitely. Celeste?
Yeah, well, no, and just like, I mean, it's exercise and it's hormone balancing. And, I think it's just like it is like our bodies are wired for that pleasure and that sex. And if we think, oh, I just need to work and I need to do everything right all the time. And I need, it's like, if, like, what's the point of life? If like we're given this amazing body and all of this pleasure potential and all we're doing is just like working till we die. Like, I don't get it. So exploring what gives you pleasure, and again, whatever it is, like, and I think one of the biggest keys in our coaching is like, if what makes you feel alive and pleasurable and orgasmic is like lying in a river or, gardening, like that's your sex, that's your eroticism, that's your aliveness. Or if it means like having sex with one person forever or having sex with a new person every week, like it doesn't matter to me. Like if you do it in alignment with yourself in a way that really like, is on the up and up with the people that you're connecting with, whatever fits for you is what's great. And that's going to make you feel more healthy, more alive. Like you'll have a reason to like get up and like to keep exercising and, to, like, because It's like, oh, this helps. All of this goes together and helps me have a better, more pleasurable life.
You know what I love about you ladies so much is that you say it so matter of factly that like it's just like we're talking about, geography or something, like it's just, and it should be like that. Yet so many people like giggle and like, oh, I can't talk about, and I think even just like the way you say it and people can say it out loud, it's a mindset, really. I mean, besides the skill set, there's a mindset with it too. Because I didn't know if there were certain, you talked about some of them. I'd love to hear some exercises maybe that people can do to get more comfortable with all of this.
Yeah, so we have like an amazing erotic embodiment class that really walks people step by step, and I'll give you a little bit of a rundown of like a way to start taking taking sex into account into your life means like starting to develop this muscle of pleasure in your body through erotic embodiment exercises. So for example, when you are eating, do eat for sensation. It's wonderful.
I
And
like
when
that.
just like so imagine yourself like eating this like I don't know, I have this like coffee ice cream thing that I love so much, or even drinking coffee, right? So you just like take a bite and you just like feel the taste. But you already activate your pelvic floor muscle. You don't just taste it with your mouth. You squeeze
Ooh.
the pelvic floor muscles and you like let the flavor and the coolness and the ice cream like kind of go all the way down through your chest, through your belly, all the way down to your pelvic floor. And you give it a nice squeeze and say like registered. It's in my pelvic floor now. And you let yourself feel it. And that's how you start. And then you do it with, I don't know, with the breeze. Or then you do it when you go to a hot spring, you feel the warm water. And then you do it and you start to like build up this muscle of embodiment and arousal, erotic embodiment. And you start to get information, not only from your mouth, from your skin, from your breath, but also from your pelvic floor about what feels right and what feels good.
Mm.
And it can become this oracle that you walk in the world and you're just like, ooh, I feel amazing today because you just like start to get this like answer from your body, from your full body about what feels good every day.
Oh my God, like kissing. Like, kissing is like my favorite thing in the world. I once had like the best sex of my life. It was like an hour of and a half of kissing to like romantic music from the 80s.
Oh, I love it.
Nothing else happened besides that. It was like it
Yeah.
was like a peak experience, because I could feel every little touch of the lips and every little touch of the tongue and every little caress of the face. Like I could feel it throughout my entire body. And it was so arousing. And I didn't even feel like I needed an orgasm. I felt like it was like a full body orgasm.
Oh my God. If you're watching this on YouTube, and you have to, these ladies are so sexy. Like you just have to watch them explain these exercises. Well, and it's because you're also so comfortable. This is what I talk about all the time. It's that sexy confidence that it has to do with you. It has nothing to do with the guy or the girl. It's you. And when you feel it and you go in like you mean it, it's so hot and super sexy. I did a flirt workshop actually not too long ago in Denver, and this woman, she's adorable. I mean, she was like 23 that took my class and has so much shame around sex. And we were going around and we had the men in the middle, and all the women had to go around the men and just look at their eye and look in their eyes and go hello, and just like with like just such like I said, if you think it's like over the top, crank it up to a 10 even more, because guys don't know what you think is normal. What you think is over the top is normal to them, right? So she couldn't do it. Like her face turned beet red, and I didn't give up on her. I'm like, do it again. Do it again. Do it again. And then finally by the fifth time, she was able to not get red and just hold the space. And it's just like what you ladies are doing and demonstrating right now is just exactly what I think could help people so much that have the shame or fears around this. So thank you for that. um, I was wondering if, because I know you have like three books out right now. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about any of them and maybe just some tips in there or things that, people could expect by getting them because they're all so fabulous.
Yeah, I think they all really cater to different audiences. Like coming together is for everyone because it's for, anyone who wants to find out what turns them on and why and how they might communicate it with a partner and create more intensity and compatibility in their relationships. I think coming together is across the board. If people are really relationship oriented and they want to know how to bring emotional and erotic intimacy into their relationships, then making love real. And if
Ooh,
you're a man who wants to go out and be really true to yourself, but be an amazing lover to women, then it's confidence. So that's kind of like each of the books has its own flavor to it.
nice.
Yeah. And I also want to say that we have classes that I kind of like many times go with the books, like how to find what turns you on, how to communicate it, right? Like how to share it with a partner. What happens if your turn on is something that's not so conventional, how to have those conversations with a partner and like how to set it up. And we also have like a lovely two dating classes that go really well for men and for women. So I think you can find those classes in learn.somatica.com and kind of like if you need a more like multi-dimensional way of relating with practices and demonstrations, uh, we're all there. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I would love for you to share just some final words of wisdom, anything that just kind of buttons up what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think the most important thing I want to say is like the thing that makes life meaningful is if you live a life that's in alignment with who you are. So one size doesn't fit all. You need to find the sex that works best for you, the relationship structure that works best for you, the job or career or hobbies, like whatever it is. Don't listen to those outside voices telling you the way that it should or shouldn't be. Listen to the one inside. The more you get in touch with your heart, your belly, your pelvic floor, and you listen to what they say, the better your life is going to be.
I love it. And although one size does not fit all, size does matter sometimes. Anyway, I'm just saying that was the segue. I couldn't help myself.
You could help.
Danielle, Danielle,
Yeah, I'm with you. But
she got distracted with that one.
I was like, what are we talking about now? Okay. And yeah, and just to add to Celeste, which I loved what you said, it's just like life is worth living and it's only your life. So live it the way you want it.
And size matters. I know you're.
Don't let people make you small. Like
Yeah.
don't make yourself small for other people. Don't covet yourself to fit into other molds. Like, really let yourself shine. It's your life and you want to be the star of your own life.
Oh, I love that. Ladies, such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. And thanks for lubricating the podcast with your knowledge.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
Really fun, Kimmy. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thanks for joining me today. This has been the Charisma Quotient. I am your host, as always, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And if you want to know more, make sure you go to my site, as always, kimmyseltzer.com. And here's the thing. If you are listening to this and you know that you have difficulties forming intimate connections on dates, or you get caught in the friend zone often, or maybe you're just not feeling the chemistry with the people that you are dating, join me May 21st for my next co-ed interactive workshop. It's called Flirting Made Easy. This is one of my most popular ones, and I haven't done it in a while, so definitely make sure you save your spot. This is where you will learn the skill of flirting. So just like intimacy is a skill, so is flirting and having fun. And you'll leave the workshop inspired, confident, and ready to navigate the dating world with fun, positive attitude once you know the secret ingredients to flirting. So, like I said, just click the link to register, but hurry, these spots do go quick. And remember, working on yourself is working on your dating life. That's all for now.